Oh.
Let's see. We better come down to the state level because it's pretty heady out there in the national field right now. So I'm wondering what's a good lefty to do about this governor's race we have right now.
Go for a nice ride in New Hampshire and drink a beer.
You think so?
It's
nothing but bad choices, or how do you? I'm not going to ask how you're going to vote, but how are you thinking about this three-way race?
This way, I know who I won't vote for. Let's put it that way. And the other person I'll vote for, I won't do very happily. I think, you know, I mean, I'll badmouth Douglas. I mean, I think he's about as effective as you know. Well, I can't say those words on here, but the Polina thing, you know, Anthony's a good guy. I remember I was a big Polina supporter when he first ran, but you know, the law of averages and stuff. It's just, you know, he's been running pretty much since the '80s, and he's a great guy. I think he's right on the policies, but he's just not a great candidate. I'm not really enthused about Symington. I mean, I wrote one comment recently on Green Mountain Dale. I'm like, somebody was going on about blah 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 blah. I'm like, I think they all suck. You know, I don't know. Like I said, I've been kind of, at least in terms of Green Mountain Daily, I've been kind of staying out of that one because I told people, you know, I wrote the governor's race off a long time ago, and I still kind of, I'm not spending a lot of mental synapses on it right now.
Right. Do you?
Sorry to disappoint you.
Well, we're just talking. I'm okay. I'll make it. Do you think there's a magic number that Douglas has to hit? So
3. No,
well, he's got to hit 50 or it goes to the legislature. Yeah, but if he's at 48, it'd be tough for the Dems to throw it to Symington. But maybe 42. Have you been thinking about the dice game there?
I hear murmurings about what might happen, which I can't really discuss. But I just love when people throw that out there. I know it's going to. I know it's going to happen, but I can't tell you.
Know a lot.
No. I don't know. I've seen that a couple times before. I mean, the fact of the matter is, politics aside from anything, is unless we have like instant runoff voting, a three-way race in Vermont is always going to benefit the Republicans.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and I get into this thing too. It reminds me of when I talk about the civil disobedience thing. It's just you know, people want to vote for you, support, and vote for you, or versus the electability thing, and da 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 da.
Right.
It's just tough after a while because I don't think just continuously voting for the person that's going to get 1%. I don't necessarily think that's due. I mean, my whole strategy right now, and this is pathetic, and this shows how jaded I've become, is just stopping Republicans. I can't even think any further than I can't even think any further than that.
I think a lot of people who call themselves independents from the left now identify a lot more with the Democratic Party.
There's plenty of reasons for me not to vote for Obama, and I kind of like, I wouldn't say I'm like an Obama supporter.
Right.
Or I'm not there
rah-rah. You've got McKinney or Nader to choose from too, but that's a throwaway vote, huh? Yeah. But it's tricky. But
McKinney might smack me if I don't vote for her.
Instant runoff voting did pass in the state legislature.
Yes, but Republicans don't like it because they
Douglas vetoed it.
Because they lose.
Right.
You know.
If you could rank order Polina, Symington, Douglas, or rank order Symington.
I mean, if there was IRV, I think Symington would definitely wrap it up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I still don't think Polina's going to break out of single digits.
So that veto was a re-election strategy for Douglas.
Of course,
huh?
it's like a Republican protection strategy. You
know. With a couple minutes left.
Yes.
You on 5 Before Chaos, you share the broader world of culture, not just politics.
I would call it it's not high culture. Let's put it that way.
But films of questionable quality. What exactly does that offer?
Crappy movies. It all started actually because I was always into those blaxploitation movies like Shaft and stuff. I remember growing up and hearing that. That's probably I like funk music so much. So wow, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And we can edit some of this. I'll keep going. It went from that, and then I started getting to the Italian westerns. And a lot of these movies are horrible. I mean, they're just crappily acted, crappily directed. You know, you'll see the boom down in there. And as I started getting more and more into it, just seeing the realm of craptacular cinema, and it's. I mean, some of it is art in it. It's just camp. It's just camp. It's like, wow, this was, you know, it's funny when you look at how bad mainstream movies are today, and you go back, and the only difference is back then they didn't try to pass themselves off as serious movies. Now they do. You know, that makes sense?
There may be a deep analogy with politics going on there with what you.
But it's got Lindsay Lohan in it, so I mean, come on, I mean.
Now, is there a way to tell a bad movie that it just remains bad, or a bad movie that becomes actually good?
If you fall asleep, that's generally the, you know, every now and then I'll watch one of these movies, and the next day I'm like, oh my god, that really. I mean, some of the ones are so bad they just entertain the hell out of you. I mean, some of these blaxploitation flicks where they got the, you know, I mean, all the stereotypes we see of like pimps. I mean, that was it. That's where it came from. And when you see the guy walking down the street with the fro and the shoes like this, and he's talking, it's funny. It's just. I mean, it's not true. It's definitely not politically correct by any means, but it's just funny. Ultimately, the gauge of a good movie for me, as long as you don't necessarily look at art or whatever, was I entertained? It could be a crappily put together movie. If it entertained me, it entertained me. I mean, you know.
And that's a fine measure of a blog as well, which yours definitely is.
I hope so.
So that's a wrap-up line right there.
Right.
Thanks, JD, for coming in. That was a blast.
That was fun. All right.
Thanks, folks, for tuning in, and we'll keep seeing you. VTblogosphereTV is signed off. Night.
Look at the example the Republicans have set. In this decade, American workers have consistently given us rising productivity. That means year after year they work harder and produce more. Now, what did they get in return? Declining wages, less than 1/4 as many new jobs as in the previous 8 years, smaller health care and pension benefits, rising poverty, and the biggest increase in income inequality since the 1920s. American families, by the millions, are struggling with soaring health care costs and declining coverage. I will never forget the parents of children with autism and other serious conditions who told me on the campaign trail that they couldn't afford health care and couldn't qualify their children for Medicaid unless they quit work and starved or got a divorce. Are these the family values the Republicans are so proud of? What about the military families pushed to the breaking point by multiple deployments? What about the assault on science and the defense of torture? What about the war on unions and the unlimited favors for the well-connected? And what about Katrina and cronyism?